Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Real Estate Checks. This is Marco Kozlowski. I'm here with Francesco Galuccio and Gabriel Araish, who has recently moved to Boca Raton. And I don't know if that's even Italian, but it sounds... There's
not based on the people who live here.
Boca Raton, Florida, not Calabria.
Isn't Boca mouth?
Yeah.
And then,
yes,
or Buca.
Yeah.
Boca de la Veritas. I remember that's in Rome where you put your hand in it, and if you don't tell the truth, it's supposed to eat it. Ooh. It's like a little place in Rome. You know what I'm talking about, Frank?
Where tourist locations you go to? No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like this like circular thing, and then you put your hand, and apparently the Romans used to put their hands in it if they were telling a lie, and then there was... It's like
I know I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I've never seen Frank's hands. I don't know. I can think about it.
I don't think he has hands and he doesn't.
What? What?
We call him Nubs for a reason. Yeah, we call him Nubs. So sorry about that strange introduction. I'm running on about 2 hours sleep. Just got in from a red eye on the West Coast. I had phenomenal meetings. We'll discuss that on another time, another day when it's ready to pop. Today we're going to piggyback on what we had discussed in the previous podcast, last podcast on partnerships, the 2 hidden partners that you have. But before we get into that, of course, if you have not listened to the first 10 episodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the exact number of fingers that you have, or if you've severed one, 9 fingers and 1 toe. So yeah. So as long as you've listened to the first 10 podcasts, you understand how asset-based lending works, how we can buy assets using skills, not money. And if you develop those skills and communication skills, you can develop skills to reduce assets value prices, so you can buy them at the right value. So you never need to use your money ever. No matter how much money or little money you have, it doesn't matter. Just putting the right pieces together allows you to get wealthy. And this is what we discuss on this podcast, as well as mindset and a whole bunch of other goodies that are necessary in order for you to be super successful and get out of your own way, remove your ego, kill your ego, and really develop some really amazing skills to really let you shine and take care of your family. Ooh, that was like the longest introduction ever, Marco. Might have to edit that or not. If you've heard this, I didn't edit it. So there you go. So let's talk about the 2 hidden partners. We have first Murphy. Our friend Murphy, who, as you know the expression, if anything can go wrong, it will. So we always have contingency plans for Murphy. And of course, our other partner, which is the tax person, the IRS, Uncle Sam. Or if you're Canadian, you have a third partner, which is the CRA, the CRA. Or, if you're in the UK, you've got Her Majesty, if you're in Australia, whatever that tax service is. Depending on where your country is, there are definitely, tax situations. So you have to be conscious of how you buy things and how you structure things to make sure your tax implication is the least. And we can definitely have those discussions today. So I suggest we start with, I don't know, let's
Frank,
you want to do tax?
Frank's in the middle of this, the whole tax thing, right?
I know Murphy really well. He lives with us from time to time.
He's your secret lover.
I had my share of Murphy. That's for sure.
Are we talking about Murphy first?
Let's talk about Murphy. Let's talk about our Paisan Murphy from Boca Raton. Well,
what? His name is Gabe.
Yeah, that's right. I don't understand.
He lives in Boca. Oh no, Murphy lives all over the place. So
what's going on?
Yes.
He's not geographic, that's for sure. Yeah. But Murphy does exist, and I think I had my fair share of it, and I'm sure I'm going to see more of Murphy in the years to come. But it is a contingency that you should consider when doing anything. It's not even just real estate. Just doing anything, any investment or any endeavor you're doing, you should consider Murphy, what can go wrong, and what's your contingency plan on that, and so if you plan it right. And again, a lot of things I know when I got started, I didn't plan for shit to go wrong. I knew things would go wrong because Marco, you would always say it. Murphy exists. I thought it was just a saying, but it happened on several occasions. But if you're educated, or not even educated, if you sit down and just think about your risk factors and what could go wrong and planning for that to some degree, you can't plan unforeseen circumstances, obviously, and you can't plan that someone's gonna stab someone on your park, or your house is gonna endure a flood, or a hurricane wipes out your property, or actually you can kind of predict that if you're in the hurricane path or in the tornado path. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do to safe haven yourself in those circumstances? So for hurricanes, I'm going to give you an example. I made sure I had the proper insurance. There's general insurance, and then there's additional insurance that you can add on to that, which is hurricane insurance, which a lot of people don't get, and also a loss of use insurance. So what that means is if there's a tenant in there, the house blows off, it can't be habitable, the tenant's got to leave, the insurance company will pay you that lease amount until the house is fixed. So those are contingencies you can put into place to mitigate your risks when Murphy does,
or if rear its ugly head.
Or if you have a house, those could be having high impact windows, for example, to help as well. These are all things that you can plan for. And you have to make sure that it makes sense, right? You're not going to invest in high impact windows if it's a rental that's paying you $200-$300 a month. So
titanium windows.
That's right. So you
double pane titanium.
But if you have a luxury,
impenetrable windows, like my house in Vegas that I had, Steve Wynn's old house, and it was bulletproof glass. It was very interesting.
So wonder why you needed that.
I would question why it has bulletproof glass. What kind of neighborhood was this?
When you run a casino and own a casino, people want you, and you're. What do you mean? Why?
I could be.
You're Italian. How do you not know about bulletproof glass?
Frank has bulletproof glass. He's just not telling you.
You know how this works.
Frank has bulletproof glass. He won't tell anyone.
So that's you're taking care of Murphy in that case. I'm going to get I don't want to be sitting in my living room and hear
drive by
pop. Actually, you don't even hear I don't think you hear it. It's just you're dead. But it's what can go wrong and how can I fix it, right? And that's kind of the experience. The more experience you have, or how you get aligned with someone with experience, you really mitigate a tremendous amount of risk, because it's not what you know for certain that is going to hurt you. It's what you don't know, and you. At least I think so. I think you don't know more than you actually do know.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
It's happened to us with our property in Mississippi. I just wasn't aware that it could have been kind of a tornado road, or I guess pathway. So we got hit by a tornado, and
let's buy here.
So
it's always new development every 3 years there.
So
right?
We have to we had to adapt, and we did. But I guess another way of preparing is also having a proper reserve fund for things like Murphy. So for us, the tornado hit, the insurance didn't cover for that, but we had the proper reserves. So they covered some of it, but the way the insurance was structured, and because these are separate buildings, so what it is, it's 13 buildings on one parcel. So every building has its own kind of deductible. So that's where we got hit, but we had the proper.
So you had 13 deductibles.
Yes. Yeah. So we got lucky because not all the buildings got hit, right? So maybe 6 of them. But just to say that, the point is that this is a Murphy situation, right? And we didn't have the appropriate insurance for it, but we mitigated that by having a proper reserve fund so that we didn't have to start capital calling investors or whatnot. So that's kind of the other way that you can prepare, is having a proper contingency fund. So most people, will get into real estate and they enjoy the cash flow and they'll start milking their properties, but really there should be a portion of all net profits that kind of stay in a reserve fund, and it's got to be a percentage that actually the percentage is never going to be the same. It's going to be based on multiple factors, whether it's the age of the property, its condition, location, things like that. That's going to determine what you should put in there, but you should always have a little bit more, and then live off less of that cash flow, because when Murphy does show up, you're gonna be grateful that you have that fund, and that you don't have to start either injecting your own capital or having a capital call and asking your investors for more money. So that's another way of dealing with Murphy. It's not because Murphy, I think Frank, you mentioned that, but you can risk mitigate as much as you want, but that's why he's called Murphy. He just shows up whenever you least expect him. So you can't really plan for Murphy other than being prepared financially to a certain extent. And you can mitigate Murphy in the sense of, like Frank said, whether it's insurance, whether when you do your proper maintenance, you there is no deferred maintenance. That's the one thing, because if you know that a roof is leaky, for example, and you don't fix it, then if there's a hard rainfall or a hurricane, that's just going to increase the damage. So you got to fix things to make sure that if Murphy does come, that the damage is limited.
Yeah, but that's not Murphy. That's negligence. You know it's happening.
But yes, right? I guess, yeah.
So on that example, so just say what happens if you try and you plan for Murphy to come over and to raise its ugly head. So I had a scenario with one of my houses near Tampa, Pasco County, if you guys are familiar with it, west coast of Florida. It's notorious for sinkholes.
Oh.
There's a lot of sinkholes there in that area. Just the earth is just not settled there, but a lot of cavities. So anyways, when we purchased the property, actually this was Bianca's property, my daughter's property that she got when she was a young teenager. We purchased the property, we refinanced, so we did the whole cycle, and we decided to sell it. Okay, so we decided to sell it. It was on a lease option. We decided to sell it, and then we found out there was a sinkhole underneath, like a cavity, they call it. But I thought I had the proper insurance, but I didn't read between the lines. It says catastrophic sinkhole coverage. So what the fuck does catastrophic mean? Like it swallows up the whole house and the whole neighborhood? This wasn't the case, so it wasn't catastrophic. So I had to basically catastrophic. So I had to pivot, and now what? So the only way that I mitigated my risk was from buying it right.
Yeah.
So that's how you can also mitigate Murphy, is by buying it right, having that cushion. So we still made money, not as much as we wanted, because filling a sinkhole with this special grout is very expensive. It's $100 a yard, and they don't know how many yards go in it. They just keeps pumping, and then they put sensors on the house, and once the house starts moving a bit, that means that cavity is
I would
full.
imagine that selling a house that has that potential defect is also going to be a little bit more difficult.
Well, it is, but you get an engineer report, and then they sign off on it. They take these X-ray things, they put sensors in the ground. But yeah, there's always going to be, it's like a black eye or a bruise. Someone's always going to see that and devalue the property to some degree. But in the end, so mitigating risk on that front was purchasing it right.
Well, you bought it for less than half of what it was worth. So
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
I just sold a property. I had a contract on it 4 times in Daytona Beach. I put one on the market. It sold in minutes, and I didn't think it was ever going to sell. And then this other one, which is actually 3 times the size, they found an oil tank that was buried that they had no idea. I never knew even though it was there. It still had oil in it.
Oh my God.
So there's fumes and it could explode. There was something going on with the roof, and then when the inspector took a look at it, it was completely rotten. So I had to get a whole new roof. There was, a family of, this is all the same property, by the way. There was a family of raton laveur. I can't think of the, raccoons. Thank you. For some reason, I can only find the French word today. That's what happens with 2 hours sleep, I guess. You just lose certain words and they turn into French. They found a family of raccoons that were trapped and died in one of the walls of the property. The bathroom had there was something that was smelling in the bathroom, and they opened it up and it was black mold. Someone had put a fake panel, electrical panel, over a knob and tube, old, so there's just one thing after the other, and I'm like, so we went under contract, and one inspector found something, then another inspector found something else, and I'm at my 4th inspection, and I think we're finally going to get this thing across the finish line. I bought this thing for $60,000, and I'm selling it for $300,000, so okay, I've had to put $20,000. Well, good news is they as they were destroying the bathroom, which was a very small shower, they had created a smaller shower, and there was a window in the shower that didn't exist before. So now the shower is 3 times the size, and actually now brand new. So
more value.
We actually increased the price of the property, which basically covered the entire cost of the $15,000 for the roof plus the electrical was another $8,000. Keep going, about $30,000 total, but we increased the price about $30,000 too, so I'm going to get my money back. So there are 2 things that will screw you in this business: is not buying it right. So there's money in the asset to actually take care of it. Not buying it right is number 1, and number 2 is bad management, which is another Murphy issue, where the management company disappears. They try to screw you over. They don't, they collect, but they don't pay. They're not they're not categorizing things in the right areas, or they're nickeling and diming you on maintenance expenses. I don't know if we actually had a podcast on this. This might actually be, something important to discuss as well. Picking your right management team, because if you have the wrong one, it will destroy you, especially if you buy it wrong, right?
Yeah.
Some people buy retail, right? They get, they're buying a 5 cap with a 3% loan. There's a 2% spread. And a couple things go wrong and you're dead. You've got no juice left.
That's compounded bullshit. That's mistake times bullshit, mistake. Yeah.
Bullshit squared.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's actually well said. Mistake times mistake. Mm-hmm. Excellent. We have to use that in the future. Yeah. Very good. So there's with experience and having someone by your side who has already gone through the mistakes is going to shortcut a lot of things. Also, buying it right is going to shortcut a lot of things. Having the right reserves is going to shortcut a lot of things. Like, there's so many things that could go wrong. And in listening to this as a beginner, I would think, well, maybe I shouldn't get involved, right? Maybe it's too scary. Maybe all these things, I don't have the money to do all these different things. I don't want the risk, right? It sounds very risky. So I'd like to address that, because I don't want you to listen to all these Murphy things, and there's thousands more. There's so many things that can go wrong we haven't discussed. We could have 10 podcasts just on this. But what are your thoughts on that, guys? So do you think someone should just not get in the business because of all these it's like going into your car and saying, well, I might get into an accident, I might get a speeding ticket, I might hurt somebody, I might I might get hit by a meteor.
With what's going on in the world right now, wouldn't be surprised if everybody's scared of everything. But the bottom line is all these, real estate is probably the oldest way of making money. It's the oldest way of building wealth. It's been done. It's going to keep being done, whether Murphy's here or not. And he does show up a lot. But the fact that most of the wealthy families are just living off real estate and keep building about it, why would it be different for you? That's, I guess, the listener. That's the question I have for you. So that's not going to change. I mean, everything you do in life has a risk. Walking out your door is a risk. Getting into your car, like Marco said, is a risk. Riding your bike is a risk. Everything is a risk. And you mitigate all these risks. What do? You cross the street, you just cross the street without looking left or right, or do you look left or right? It's the same thing in real estate. It's just the risks are different. And when you know them, or when you have someone by your side who's been there, done that, and can just show you where the risks are, all you got to do is then plan for them, and Bob's your uncle.
Just like we did with Johan, right? We did a podcast on this. It smelt this. Walked out. If you didn't hear that episode, he walked out of the closing table because he didn't have the things that the seller would promise that day. And I'm like, this is not worth it. Murphy is going to show up if you go through with this. It's, even though he doesn't have his own money involved, it's a pain in the ass he doesn't need. It's better to walk out of the closing table, get the things you need, then close later if necessary. Frank, any comments on? Shit's going to go wrong, right? All the time.
It is.
You have to expect it. Be okay with it.
100%. And I kind of like Murphy. He's like a paisan to me now, because I got to say, we were just talking about this, me and my wife, the other day. And I kind of say I was, blessed in a way too, that I had taken steps to mitigate our risk. Because as I look back, she goes, every house that you buy, something happens to it. And it did. We were going down all the properties and like, holy shit, they're right. One hurricane, this, that, whatever, a sinkhole, fire, whatever the case is. And each one of them, not only that because we bought it right, but each one of them, we profited more. And Marco, you're probably in that same situation now if you have the proper insurance. And we did, even if the house, gets leveled, you get a new house, which, new flooring, new walls, new this and that,
new mobile home
kitchen.
park, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to elevate the value because of the capital expenditures you're putting in there. But it's not your expenditures. You're paying, obviously, the deductible, but you're paying for the insurance. So we've been blessed where, Murphy did raise its ugly head. But in the end, I got to say, we benefit from it. Not to say that I'm welcoming Murphy each time, but each time it did come, we did benefit
if you're
from
prepared,
it. So,
you will.
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared, and we're blessed to have that knowledge to have been prepared. Otherwise, I was crying like a baby with my thumb in my, in my mouth when the first, the first incident.
I thought you didn't have hands.
Yeah, not there. No, I don't. Yeah, well, the thumb I keep. Right?
But
I don't know what you're into, Frank. But
and then next thing, that's it. Just
but
the two.
I have a similar story to that with the insurance thing. It's funny you mentioned that because. So I had a condo, and we had a tenant in there, old man, and I guess he had either dementia or whatnot, but basically left something on the stove, and then the kitchen burned, and I get this call in the middle of like whatever, it's supper time or whatnot, says, "Hey man, there was a fire in your unit. The firemen are here, and this is in a condo complex." So what happened is the fire was caused, and there's sprinklers, and the sprinklers kind of went off automatically, which was good news. But what that did is it killed the hardwood floors as well. So again, I guess I was in a panic mode at the beginning, but then called the insurance. I had a deductible of like $500, I think. And they ended up redoing the whole unit except the bathroom, which wasn't touched. And basically, I got a full remodel because we modernized everything and was able to rent it, higher because it was more modern. It looked better. And when it was time for me to sell it, I also got a quick sale because people were more interested in my unit than the comparable ones that were available. So, like you said, sometimes Murphy will show up, but if you're prepared and you deal with it the right way, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise.
Now, I do want to say that you don't want to look for Murphy either because it's going to get worse. No. So if Murphy comes when you're not expecting it, you can turn something bad into something very good. If you're actually looking for Murphy, you're going to take something bad and turn it into a death sentence. Yeah. So just be careful, because I've seen people, you can, insurance is going to cover it, and, and they almost caused the issue. Yeah. And, that's a terrible...
That's neglect.
And you'll be discovered. And that's not something that you want to look for. You want to do things with integrity. You want to try to mitigate your risk as much as possible. And again, you can learn the life lessons the hard way. The School of Hard Knocks is the most expensive lessons there are. Or align yourself with someone that's been there, done that. Get someone to supervise what you're doing the first, second, third, fourth time. Get your sea legs going. Even if you've been doing this for a while and you're going into some other direction. So you've done single family. Now you want to go and have us help you with multis or mobile home parks or hospitality or assisted living or whatever asset class that you want to grow into. Really, they're different assets, have different risks with different rules, really. And even the income is calculated differently, and the risk models are different in each asset class. So, and just don't be afraid of doing the business, because fear stands for fuck everything and run, right? You don't want to do that. And Murphy does exist, and just be okay that Murphy is going to be there, and just expect it. Because if you think nothing's ever going to go wrong, you're only going to get disappointed, because that's an expectation gap that just can't be met. But if you're okay with shit happening, then when it happens, you're going to be cool. I'm prepared for this, and you're going to be fine. And your stress level is going to go down. Your happiness level is going to go up, and you're going to sleep way better at night. So just be okay with having shitty things happen, because that's just how it is. We could talk about this, guys, for hours. So that's just Murphy. So make sure that you're prepared, either with knowledge, experience, or someone with experience, and with cash, buying it right. There's so many ways to mitigate risk. And I think we nail that with everyone that we work with pretty well. Like no one's ever really lost their ass, unless there was, like in your case, Frank, when there was a partnership that went really south, which we discussed before. It was like complete negligence. Like they purposely hid things or did things that would just hurt.
But that wasn't Murphy. That was that was exactly what you said. Negligence.
Yeah. So there's a difference between, but it was a Murphy for you because it was Murphy. Like you didn't expect that your partner was that. So there was negligence that created the Murphy, if that makes any sense. So correct. Do your due diligence on who you're working with for sure, because then, you're inviting Murphy in and to sleep with them, and, they're doing things to you that you don't like. They're putting their fingers or thumbs into the holes that you don't want them to go into.
He has hands.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, and I don't want to know. So anyway, guys, hopefully this was entertaining as well as it was informative. And so watch out for Murphy. And I think on our next one, we're going to be talking about the IRS or whatever tax authority, but we're buying assets in the U.S., so IRS is definitely your partner. And if you do it right, you actually will do better than most by understanding how the IRS works and following the guidelines and the legalities of what you're allowed to do. And if you do follow the rules, you can actually pay a lot less tax than most humans. So just follow the rules. The tax laws were written by the rich, and if you understand them, you don't have to be rich to follow the tax laws. You just follow the laws, and you can get wealthy, and that's the whole point. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you as a listener. Like it, love it, share it, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have an amazing day, and crush it.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.